Malcontent News is a team of journalists, activists, and researchers with three key missions. A commitment to show an unfiltered view of the before, during, and after of key events live as it happens. To defend the First Amendment using our rights of a free press. And to amplify the voices of underrepresented individuals including Black, Indigenous, persons of color, and the LGBTQIA+ community. Our team is committed to seeking equality for all and holding those in power accountable. The easiest way to support Malcontent News is to bookmark our website at malcontentnews.com, like and follow us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, and follow us on Twitter, TikTok, Twitch, Instagram, and in the Google News app. To provide financial support, you can become a patron, make a one-time donation through Venmo, or link your Twitch account to your Amazon Prime account and use your free subscription to subscribe to Malcontent News. Thank you for supporting independent journalism and for being a malcontent. Are you receiving me? Are you receiving me? I control your screen. Get over it. Today is Thursday, September 2nd, 2021. As we enter the third quarter of 2021. Can't believe that it's September. The days have gotten visibly shorter and the temperatures have gotten decidedly cooler, specifically at night. How is everybody doing this evening? I am still kind of limping along in the health department and battling the sore throat. And been to doctor 3 times, went to an ENT on Wednesday, and basically was told, excuse me, suck it up, buttercup. That's just literally basically what I was told. I do have some steroids I'll be taking still. I'll be glad when it's over. How the hell is everybody doing tonight? It's been a newsie of a news cycle the last 24 hours, hasn't it? I could probably do a 4-hour show, but I don't have the energy for it, and you guys don't have the attention span. So we'll try to keep focused and not super rambly here. I'm pretty tired. It's been a long and busy week. That is an understatement at this point. I guess the first thing we should probably talk about is Texas. All right, that's probably top of mind with the audience here. No, it has nothing to do with allergies, Dan, but appreciate you asking. I got a gnarly virus, apparently, is what I was told. That it's just kind of in my throat and my upper sinuses, and it is just what it is. No, it's not COVID. No, it's not strep. No, it's not mono. No, it's not blah, 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 blah. Key variable. Let's talk about Texas. So, like Roe v. Wade wasn't repealed, but with the Supreme Court going meh on a 5-4 vote, I hope 2016 was worth it, y'all. I hope 2016 was worth it for you. On a 5-4 vote, basically said punt. And so blessed be the fruit in Texas. For all intent and purposes, Roe v. Wade is essentially dead in the United States because the path is now pay for other states to essentially follow along. to essentially make abortion for all intent and purposes illegal, which is essentially what Texas has done. And of course, Texas has this ridiculous bounty system and the website. By the way, that website is hosted by GoDaddy. Y'all should let GoDaddy know what you think. And if you have your domains registered through GoDaddy, not hosted, but just your domains registered through GoDaddy, real easy to transfer them to a company like, I don't know, Namecheap. Not that I mentioned a company's name like Namecheap. That makes it really easy to transfer GoDaddy domains over to Namecheap. And you can let GoDaddy know that you are displeased with the fact that they are providing hosting services for this Texas bounty hunter website. The whole thing is just beyond kind of gross, but in some ways not shocking. And, people are like, oh, they're going to vote them out and vote them out. Texas is working furiously hard to make sure that they can't vote them out with the rules they're getting ready to put in there. It should really be pointed out. We had this on our Twitter. We had this on our Facebook page today. There were two headlines on Fox Q13 on their app. The first headline was how 220 pediatric organizations were appealing for people to do something to protect children under COVID. And then the very next headline below it, Supreme Court 5-4, essentially won't block the Texas abortion ban. It's just stunning. There's a story in our COVID roundup out of Texas. We didn't go looking for the story. We type in Texas COVID in Google. We go state by state looking for headlines. This was like the top story in the headlines. There's 282 children in Texas tonight in pediatric hospitals with COVID. And there are 29 hospitals and pediatric organizations in Texas that are appealing to Governor Greg Abbott to do something to protect the sentient children of the state of Texas who are just trying to get a safe education without dying from COVID. And that's not hyperbole. It's really hard for me to wrap my head around this. The other thing that went into effect yesterday is that in the great state of Texas, anybody with a pulse and who is over 21 years old can carry a gun. Concealed carry. You don't need a permit. You don't need training. You don't need nothing. If you're over 21, carry a gun. This is not going to end well. Every sheriff in the state of Texas, minus one, was against this. Every sheriff. Because they're just like, this is going to make our jobs infinitely harder because we don't know who's armed and not. And in the event if guns come out, we have no idea when we show up who are the good guys and who are the bad guys. And if everyone's just shooting at each other, we're like, but they like to say Blue Lives Matter. Rashi, I believe that would be namecheap.com. I believe that would be namecheap.com, not GoDaddy.com. But again, you can let GoDaddy know that you're unhappy with what they're doing there. So anyway, that's what's going on in the great state of Texas. Next thing I kind of want to talk about is, the check engine light on the planet is blinking. For people that aren't car people, if you don't know what that means, if you're in a car and the check engine light is on and it's on steady, that generally means like you can keep driving. You might not be getting the greatest gas mileage, but you can keep driving. If the check engine light is blinking, that is you're destroying the engine now. You need to stop. You need to stop now and do something. And on the planet, the check engine light is definitely blinking at this point. Weather is not climate. Climate is not weather. I've said this for years. In a vacuum, a singular weather event does not prove or disprove climate change. What happened in Maryland, Delaware, Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, and Massachusetts yesterday was unprecedented. It was historic. It was just unbelievable to watch as somebody who is a weather nerd.
you had a tornado outbreak that stretched across Maryland, Delaware, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and into New York. And this was a 2-day tornado outbreak. That in itself is pretty wacky for that part of the country. In a vacuum, it's not unprecedented. It is not something that wouldn't happen with the decaying remains of a hurricane passing through that area slowly. On paper, this stuff was possible. The intensity and the number of tornadoes is the thing that was like, whoa. That's number one. But then the second thing you had is this rain, this historic amount of rain that fell from about Philadelphia to about Worcester, Massachusetts. And what happened was we talk about this here when we get rain events, or particularly when we get snow. And I've talked about storms or cells, I'll refer to them as cells, moving in a train. They move in a line and they just keep passing over the same areas over and over and over again. And what happened was the remnants of Ida moved up the coast and moved up into that mid-Atlantic and started to graze that New England area. There was an additional amount of moisture and energy that was already sitting up there. The two of them combined, that supercharged this tropical moisture from Ida and created this tornado outbreak and this historic amount of rain that fell. And again, from about Philadelphia to Worcester, Massachusetts, some areas pushed 20 inches of rain in less than 24 hours, which is just stunning. I know Worcester Airport, only got like about 2.5 officially, but not far from there were places that got 5 or 6 inches. It rained 3.15 inches in Central Park yesterday in 1 hour. In 1 hour. That's crazy. That is a ridiculous amount of moisture. But here's the thing. That was a record, all-time record. It beat the old record, obviously. The old record was 1.94 inches of rain that fell in just 1 hour, which is also a mind-melting amount of water to fall from the sky. And that record was almost doubled. That record of 1.94 inches in an hour happened on August 21st. No, not August 21st, 1972. August 21st, 2021. It happened 11 days ago. Now 12 days ago. You had a historic rain event in New York, followed by a historic rain event 11 days in New York. The last number I saw, up to 40 people died. There's people missing. And here's the other thing in Philadelphia, New York City, a lot of these areas that got massively flooded in Brooklyn and Manhattan, they don't have flood insurance because these areas don't flood. The people that live in these apartments, even if they have renters, because a lot of people rent, even if they have renter insurance, they don't have rental insurance. If you're living in a condo, that condo building almost certainly doesn't have flood insurance. This is a economic catastrophe in these urban areas. Newark Airport, the physical airport itself, flooded last night. Not the runways, not the parking lots. The airport flooded. There were people trapped in Newark Airport last night. I don't mean a couple of people. I mean a lot of people were trapped in Newark Airport last night with no power, standing in water, no information, no food, no drinking water, no nothing. Some of the reports out of Newark Airport are flipping insane, where people were in airplanes that were waiting to take off, and then because the flooding got so bad, the rain was so intense, there were so many thunderstorms, they ended up going back to the gate after sitting on the runway for so long and going to the terminal, and they went into flooded terminals. And then the staff and the airlines were like, good luck, everybody. But part of the problem was there was no way to get anybody out of there. So we have that. Now, weather is not climate. Climate is not weather. But, then we have the Caldor fire and the Dixie fire. And we have all the fires that are burning in Washington State. And the lava fire that's still burning in California, and the fires that are still burning, albeit contained now, outside of Klamath Falls. So you have all of those fires. You have historic drought going back to 1,200 years now, rolling through from eastern Washington to Minnesota to Texas, back to California. You have Lake Powell, Lake Mead, Oroville at historic lows. You have Lake Powell in danger this month of not being able to generate electricity anymore for 400,000 homes because the water level is so low there. You have the fifth strongest hurricane to ever make landfall in the United States, which was Ida. It happened on Sunday. Over 1 million people down on the Gulf Coast are still without power. And again, weather is not climate. Climate is not weather. Siberia is burning down. 3.4 million acres. There's 3.4 million acres of forest on fire in Siberia. This isn't because of poor forest management by the United States. This isn't because of people living in the urban forest interface. This is burning in places where no one lives. Let's not forget, it was 118 degrees in Russia above the Arctic Circle in Siberia. Let's not forget that it rained at the very top of Greenland for the first time, as far as we could tell from looking at ice cores, in hundreds, if not potentially thousands of years. And Greenland is melting at an alarming rate. Turkey lost almost all their forests. It's not hyperbole in forest fires. Greece, again, massive forest fires. This isn't U.S. policy. There's massive forest fires going on in Brazil, and this isn't for people torturing stuff to make grassland. They had records amount of snow because it's wintertime in Australia. Yes, it snowed in Brazil. The places where it snowed in Brazil, actually, it's kind of like Seattle. Those areas will get snow in the wintertime. And every now and then, like every 10 years or so, they get snow that you can measure with a ruler. So that actually, the snow in Brazil wasn't too wackadoodle. I'm just letting people know that. For the first time, as far as we know, forest fire smoke got all the way up toward the North Pole this year. Got all the way up there because there is so much flipping forest fire smoke. I could just, the temperature records that were set in Death Valley, our heat wave that we had, the multiple heat waves that have roasted the western half of the United States this year. And you can go on and on and on. And the check engine light is flashing. I don't know what the answer is. I'm not going to sit here and be all gloom and doom, go, oh, it's too late, we're screwed. But boy, we got to figure something. We got to figure something out here. We can't keep ignoring this problem. We can't punt this problem. We were living in this bubble thinking like, this will happen around 2075, 2080, and for most of us, we'll be worm food by then. So not my problem. Not it. Yeah, it appears we're wrong on that one. It's like it's here. It's now. There was this documentary. We linked to it on our Twitter. It's called The Greening of the Planet Earth. It was done by the coal industry in 1991, and it essentially argued all of the wonderful things that would happen if the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere of the planet would double. And they predicted that carbon dioxide on planet Earth would reach a part of about 500 parts per million by 2085. We're at 2021. It's at like 420. So first of all, they're short on their forecast by a solid 45 years. Easy. That's number one. And number two, basically everything that they predicted did not happen. What a shock. Now, why would the coal industry run a documentary claiming that greenhouse gases will be good for planet Earth? Basically what they were arguing was The increased carbon dioxide would essentially have more plants growing, increase crop production, and those plants, because they're just consuming the carbon dioxide, and will produce more oxygen. So to help stabilize what's in the atmosphere, there'll be more crop production and more rain because of more plants, and it'll all actually be just kind of like the temperature really won't go up, and it'll all be really good. And anybody else is telling you that plants are going to die, desertification, crazy weather patterns, it's going to get hot in some places, cold in some others, droughts, wrath of God stuff. They're just trying to scare you. None of that's really, really true. And cold is good for you. Eat it for breakfast. You can go. The whole documentary is on YouTube. It's one of those things where it didn't age well. It didn't age well at all. So the next thing, Lauren, I kind of go somewhere between like doom and we got this and nihilistic. It just depends on what day of the week it is. I think today I'm in the nihilistic camp today because it's just like it's so overwhelming, everything that's happened. Next thing I want to talk to about is Candace Owens. Okay, so Thursday night, a week ago, not today, a week ago, Candace Owens, Indiana, speaking in front of 3,000 people. There's people who paid money to go meet her backstage at a meet and greet. She's a no-show in the meet and greet, and her handler's like, here's an autograph book. Sorry, she can't do this. Then she was supposed to speak at the Texas Youth Conference, the Hitler Youth Rally that was going on in Texas. Yes, I went there on Saturday. But she was a no-show because of a quote-unquote sudden illness. And she hadn't done a tweet in like 48 hours. So bowed out of the event on Thursday night, fell off the face of the earth on Friday, no show at this Texas event on Saturday, where she was supposed to speak due to a undisclosed sudden illness. And by Sunday, there was a lot of speculation that Candace had the Rona. So Candace, excuse me. So good evening, Roger. So Candace popped up for a couple of tweets, one lambasting Joe Biden. That's one of her favorite pastimes. And the other one basically, mocking people like, I am not sick. I am in Aspen on a family vacation, but you're supposed to be in Texas speaking on Saturday, and you just decided to take a vacation in Aspen all of a sudden. And I'm not sick, and ha on you for speculating. So Wednesday, she requests a private, and this is very important, a private company in Aspen to come to her hotel, because we're getting more information on this story now than what we had this morning. But she asked a private company to provide concierge service to go to the hotel where she was at to give her a COVID test. But she doesn't have COVID. And a reminder, if you're not familiar with Candace, she is adamantly anti-vax. She is adamantly anti-mask. She's, totally down the rabbit hole. And quite frankly, I agree with people who say that her advice, her positions, the people that consume her kind of bullshit, that she has probably killed people. She probably has blood on her hands from the misinformation that she has spewed. And so this private company was like, yeah, no. And we're not going to do it because you're an awful human being. And by the way, you can get a COVID test. There's a public clinic, and you can go to the public clinic like everybody else and get the COVID test. Now, let's be really clear. Why did Candace Owens want that COVID test in her hotel room? She wanted that COVID test in her hotel room because Candace Owens didn't want anybody knowing that she was trying to get a COVID test. Convince me otherwise, right? Because if Candace Owens just rolled into any old COVID testing clinic it's going to be really hard to hide the fact that Candace Owens, and it's going to be like Candace Owens got a COVID test after telling everybody she got COVID, but she disappeared from the face of the earth for almost a week, and she only did like a couple of tweets in that whole time, even though she normally tweets like 20 or 30 times a day, and she no-showed at these 2 events, and it was because of sudden illness. Candace doesn't like hearing no. And, of course, she, her initial go-to was, well, this is racism. This is happening because I'm black, which is really ironic because Candace Owens has built her platform on there is no such thing as racism. Black people don't have any of this stuff going on. And anybody who cries racism is just, a wimp. I was going to use another word, but it was going to be offensive. So I'll just go with wimp. And this is how she has garnered a lot of white followers that if they got their right-wing utopia would turn on her so fast it would make your head spin when they start getting their white America. There is no place at the table for places like Candace Owens. She's lying to herself if she thinks that there is. She is a useful idiot for that movement at this time. Let's face it. That's why she didn't want it. She's been in full-scale tweet storm. A couple of people have called her out on her bullshit, and basically, she's trying to kind of spin it because she's very Ayn Rand in her views, private enterprise and stuff. And like she was saying in an interview, she did say in an interview, look, private company has a right. They're a private company. They have the right to do what they want, but they're being discriminatory against me. Just shut the fuck up. Just shut the and now she's like, now I'm not going to get a COVID test because clearly they're not afraid, or this isn't a real problem, or they would have just tested me out of the sheer fear of I could be spreading it to people and they don't care. It's like, no, they did everything that they were supposed to do. A private business, because we made medicine in this country for profit, a private business can refuse business, including a medical ed, but there is a way you have to go about it. You just can't simply say, I'm not going to treat you, go die in the street. And they didn't do that. What they did was, we're not going to come to your hotel room. We're not going to test you. We're not going to give you this concierge service. If you want to get tested, you can go here to the testing. There's testing here. And just walk up, actually. You can just go walk up and get your test. Here's the thing. There's a couple of things. One, I sincerely hope that she is not beyond mildly symptomatic at this point. Because the reality is, if she is sicker than that at this point, and of course it's a little weird, why would somebody who is anti-vax, anti-mask, this is a hoax, she just posted like on the 25th, look at me, I'm traveling the world, I go out to these events, I haven't been sick, it's a miracle, right? She literally mocked the C disease back on the 25th on her Twitter. This is her position. Now all of a sudden she's seeking a COVID test. She's not feeling well, right? This isn't, I think my throat's a little scratchy, which is like where I'm at right now, right? This is, right? The bar has got to be a point, and she's been sick for a week. And what we don't know is how sick. Now, we at least know this. Her thumbs are working real well today. And she was able to do a on-camera, not an on-camera, but at least a phone interview with a reporter today. So we know that much. If she is more than mildly sick, and for whatever reason she's doing this, if you forgive the vernacular, this kabuki theater, she is no longer a candidate for things like Regenkov, this monoclonal antibody treatment. She is not a candidate. Once you go past a week, if you have symptoms, you are not a candidate anymore because the treatment can kill you. When you're in your first week of COVID, you want your immune system to go, rah! You want it to go all Klingon on whatever's in your system. After a week, you don't want to go in all Klingon anymore. You want it to get Vulcan. You want it to be very logical and methodical and thinking things out and stepping, because what can happen is after a week of this, your body can turn on yourself. You get this cytonic storm, and your body essentially kills itself, or it can potentially. It makes you much, much sicker. And so therapies such as the monoclonal antibody treatments can actually work against you. So basically, if you've been symptomatic for more than a week, if you have more than mild symptoms, or if you need oxygen, then this is no. The other thing is with the whole altitude thing and Aspen and stuff, why would you go to Aspen if you're dealing with COVID? She got the Rona. So it's just bullshit that she goes and pulls this denial card out to then try to sneak and get the test. I've beat that horse into the ground, and that's all I'm going to friggin' talk about that. Good Lord. On kind of that same subject, I'm very disappointed in the media. And what I'm disappointed is in their coverage of Joe Rogan, because there's been tons of headlines on Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan got the Rona and he's taking ivermectin, right? That's what all the headlines are. Dozens and dozens of headlines. Rogan, Rona, horse dewormer. But if you actually went to Joe Rogan's Instagram and had him listened to what he said, like I did, what Joe Rogan said is that he got monoclonal therapy. He went Zithromax, a Z-Pack. Dude, that's an antibiotic. It's not going to do anything with virus, but whatever makes you feel good. He got prednisone. That makes sense. Anti-inflammatory in the first week. That makes sense. Doesn't make sense after the first week. Totally makes sense in the first week. Got prednisone. He got like some, hippie feel-good cocktail, whatever, in his arm, because he's got money and he can go to some hippie feel-good place to get that, and ivermectin. So he threw the entire medicine cabinet at himself, and he's doing better. Now, that doesn't mean that ivermectin helped, and it doesn't mean that ivermectin didn't help. But on the subject of ivermectin, the horse dewormer stuff, in the great state of Oklahoma, they're having a problem in Oklahoma. The problem that they're having in Oklahoma outside of the city, so outside of the big cities, Oklahoma City and Tulsa, basically those are the two major cities in the state, they're having a problem. And the problem is that the emergency rooms in Oklahoma are on the brink of collapse right now. Ambulances are being backed up. Emergency rooms are full. People are having to wait in ambulances just to get into emergency rooms to see the doctors. We know this dance music, right? Right? It must be because of the Rona. No, it's not because of the Rona. It's because so many people are coming into the rural hospitals in Oklahoma poisoned by ivermectin in ambulances. And it's like, the stories aren't funny. These aren't people who are shitting themselves inside out. We have it up on malcontentnews.com, and the latest update today, you go to Oklahoma. These are people coming in who are blind. They have blinded themselves with ivermectin poisoning. These are people that are literally shitting their insides out. I don't mean in the sense of shit. I mean they are literally shitting their intestines out. And there are so many of them that they have clogged up the emergency rooms. So forget COVID patients getting in. One of the things that this one rural doctor's like, we've had gunshot wounds that can't get into the emergency rooms and have to wait to get into the emergency rooms because we're dealing with so many ivermectin poisonings. And then my next question is, wait a minute. How many shootings are going on in rural Oklahoma? What? You have a bay full of people that are shooting? What the hell is going on? What? So you have people in the bays and ambulances who have bullet holes in them. And you're like, I know you got a bullet hole, That looks painful, bro. It looks painful. You shouldn't have been messing with the teenager next door. This is what happens. Yeah, I know you've been in here 2 hours. There's people, they're just all shitting themselves inside out, and there's someone who's blind in the emergency room because they took ivermectin. Have you thought about ivermectin for the gunshot wound? Well, I don't know. It seems to work for everything else. Maybe you take ivermectin for your gun. How many people are getting shot in Oklahoma? It's funny, but it's not funny. Because people like Candace Owen are getting people in Oklahoma badly injured and killed. Some days I hate it here. Like, Rick, Morty, like, I don't know what you did with the portal gun to fuck up this timeline, but you need to come back. You need to come back. You either need to Cronenberg all of us or just have this timeline crash into the sun or fix it. All right? Rick, Morty, wherever you are, I'm blaming it on all of this. Or just give us some Meeseeks boxes. It is. It's maddening and sounding. That's really, really good. That's a really good way to put it. Yeah, that's exactly it. That's what's happening is they're shitting out their intestinal linings. And then they're like, oh, see, it's worms. I got worms. No, that's not worms. Because parasitic infection in the intestines here in the United States is almost non-existent. Those aren't worms. That is your fucking intestines you are shitting out. Literally. Let's talk about COVID in Washington State. I've been saying for over a week now, it looks like a plateau. It looks like a plateau. It looks like a plateau. And yesterday was like one of the strongest indications because the numbers actually went down a little bit. Not hospitalizations, but hospitalizations is a trailing indicator. Fatalities, very sadly, are going up. Fatalities is the final trailing indicator. But yesterday, new cases went down a little bit. And we've been seeing the positivity rate in the state of Washington holding pretty steady, somewhere between like high 12s and low 13s. So, like 12.9 to 13.2 and kind of bouncing in that range. And so it's not great. It actually sucks, but it has been looking like we hit a plateau. And today's data, it's not good. Today's data was like, shit. Damn it. And I'm worried we're kind of breaking this cap. So I'm not ready to say we're off the plateau, but there's a lot of signs that go, and we saw this in other states. We saw this happen in Missouri a couple of months ago. We saw this in Florida. They kind of like looked like they hit this thing and then it just started going again. And I was worried about that. We need more data. And then the problem is we're not going to get data Saturday, Sunday, or Monday. We're going to go 3 days without data. That means the Tuesday data is going to be a steaming pile because it's going to be 3 days of data all at once. So it's going to look just ridiculous. Wednesday's data is going to kind of still be some of that aggregate data. So we're not going to know for a week. We're not going to have a good snapshot for a week now on if we're going the wrong way again, or if this was a blip on the radar. So why do I think the plateau is cracking? I'm not saying it's gone, but why do I think it's cracking? Positivity rate jumped a lot. We're now over 14% according to Johns Hopkins, which it's a big jump. It went almost a full percentage point. That's not good. The second thing is that we were actually seeing the number of counties. We've benchmarked. If a county has over 800 new cases per 100,000, we kind of put that on the whoa list. And then if they're over, because over 1,000 is ridiculous. If you're over 1,000, it's like, this is extreme. Yesterday was the lowest number of counties we had seen in over 2 weeks. Over 1,000 and over 800. The numbers were going down. And the numbers overall were tipping this way. And it just went the direct opposite. We have 4 counties back over 1,000, including 2 new counties that were there. We added 4 more counties today, over 800, and that includes Yakima and Lewis counties, which are, more populous counties. It's one thing to go like, okay, Garfield County is now on the watch list. Garfield County has 2,300 people, which isn't to discount the situation that's going on in Garfield County, because they are having the worst numbers we have ever seen in any of this in the last 18 months. But it isn't as alarming when you see like Yakima County and Lewis County, and the numbers are going the wrong way again. And Chelan, another one that got it back over 800, where the numbers are going the wrong way. That's kind of that's alarming. And seeing counties that generally haven't had big numbers before, like Stevens, and seeing those numbers starting to go up. I remain very frustrated that the state of Washington is no longer showing on the dashboard, here's the number of hospital beds, here's the number of asses in hospital beds, here's how many of those people have COVID, here's how many of those people are intensive care. All we're seeing now is how many people are in the hospital. We're not seeing how much resources are left, how many people are in ICU. We're not seeing the amount of resources that are left there, and how many people are on ventilators, but we don't have a count of how many ventilators in the state. And ventilators aren't as important as BiPAP machines. We're starting to get a good sense of survivability if you go on a ventilator, and it sucks. It's not as bad as, say, April 2020, where if you went on a ventilator, you had about a 20% chance of getting off. If you go on a ventilator with Delta, you've only got about a 30% chance of getting off that ventilator. 7 out of 10 people go on a ventilator are not getting off that ventilator. They're going to go to ECMO, and then if they go to ECMO, it's kind of the same thing. Once you get to ECMO, 70% of those people are not going to get off ECMO. And, the ECMO just kind of buys you more time. So we have that issue that's going on in that space. So BiPAP machines are actually a more important number in my view to look at, because BiPAP is what keeps you off a ventilator. Because what happens is you come in, they put you on oxygen, then they put you on high flow oxygen, then they put you on a BiPAP machine. And then depending on the BiPAP machine and the hospital and the equipment and the protocols, they could put you up as much as on 30 liters or even up to 50 liters an hour of oxygen. Now, if you're on BiPAP, and when you're on BiPAP, it almost looks like you're on a CPAP. You kind of have like this whole thing on your face. People you see on high flow have kind of these thicker cannules that go around. But if you ever see videos of someone and they're in like the whole face hugger thing, they're on BiPAP. Once they get someone on 30 or 50 liters an hour, and let's say their O2 sats are dropping in the 70s, they got to go on a ventilator. It's at that point, it's not good. And then what happens if you're on a ventilator, for more than 7 days, your outcome is really, really bad. So I'd like to see how much resources we have left again. I'm really frustrated that they took that off the dashboard. That's one. I want to know how many ICU beds we have left. I think it's important to understand. Great. We know how many people are on ventilators, how many people are on BiPAP, how many BiPAP machines are left, how many ventilators are left. I think these are critical things that the residents of the state of Washington need to know to understand the situation that we're in. If you're a tech, you're at work, and you're saving files, right, into the cloud or onto physical media on a hard drive on a server somewhere in the company, right? If you're going to try to understand how much capacity you have left, you're not going to ask, so how many files do we have? You're not going to ask that question. What you're going to ask is, how many megabytes or gigabytes are left in storage? That's what you want to know. And they're not telling us that number, and I don't like it. That's just me. American Association of Pediatrics is coming out with a weekly report. Last report was on 8/26. That report is providing data on 49 states that they're kind of cobbling together, because different states are reporting different data at different intervals and have different metrics, because states' rights on the number of pediatric cases, hospitalizations, and fatalities. And what we learned when that report came out, there's been 11 pediatric patients who have died from COVID in Washington state since this started, not in the month. Really clear. not this summer, not from Delta, since this started. This does not include, because that report goes through 8/26, this does not include the child we found out yesterday that died at Children's. So we know that there is 12. Numbers we're starting to see out of some of the states in the South are just sad and depressing. Georgia's reported 4. 4 children have died this week. Yes, exactly. 1 is too many. And I know a lot of parents are very worried about their kids back to school. And I don't have an answer. I don't have an answer. Do kids need to socialize? Was remote learning kind of a flop? Yes, kids need to socialize. Yes, remote learning was basically a flop. It was a flop because we tried to apply in-class protocol using remote learning techniques, and we didn't change the protocols or how we taught based on the technology we were using. That's the reason it fell on its face, not because remote learning doesn't work. Remote learning, when set up right, works very effectively. And we didn't set up a lot of this stuff. We talked about Joe Rogan. And Joe Rogan's doing better. I see we talked about Joe Rogan earlier. Wow, that's a depressing comment, Mama. I mean, yeah. Please keep your cooties to yourself. Wear your face pads. Yeah, and I know that and I know a lot of parents have that view, and how well are we socializing right now in general? Another thing that kind of happened in Buffalo, New York. Woman walks into a pediatrician's office. There's kids in the waiting room. Apparently, she refuses to wear a mask. And they're like, you need to wear a mask. And she did what any rational human being would do. She pepper sprayed the staff and walked out. That's a real rational reaction to wearing a mask. I wrote this on our page earlier today. There's a survey that came out. It's an Ipsos Axios survey. They've been running the survey for months. They're actually on their 52nd wave. So they're going back, and they've done actually 52. They're asking the same questions in the methodology. They're tweaking it up as we learn new things. And you can go back if you want to and look at all 52 reports. But one of the things that they have found, the percentage of people in the United States now, they're like, I'm never you're not going to make me 5G magnetic birth control, population, kill us all. That's down to 14%. That's it. It's down to 14%. The people who are like, I'm pretty sure I'm not going to get that because, oh my God, which are probably hard-nosed, they just don't want to come across and say hard-nosed, is 6%. So we're down to 20% of America now that are like, basically, over my dead body, I'm getting a vax. That's it. You wouldn't know that going on social media, any social media channel, whether that be Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, you wouldn't know it. And you know why? Because the people that are pushing this bullshit know, because they're looking at this as a win-lose. That's it. In their mind, the zero sum here is I win or I lose. There's no humanity in this equation. And they're losing. And they know they're losing. So they're getting louder and more shrill and more frenetic. They're pushing these ridiculous ideas. The other thing that's happening is that they're losing some of their voices. We have known of several high-profile, radio personalities, TV personalities. We know of, people that have organized anti-vax, anti-right. We know they're thinning their own ranks at this point. The other thing that's going on is for families that have bought into this, what they're bought into is mostly, it's not a big deal. If you get it, it's not a big deal. It's right. They're bought into the BS from almost 2 years ago. It's a flu. There's a nasty cold. No big deal. And then someone close to them in their circle, or they get it, and then they're just like, holy shit, this isn't, this. Anybody who's been vaccinated and had like more than a mild reaction, I know I had more than a mild reaction. I know my view was, if this is from the vax, I don't want to ever get COVID. Holy crap, this sucked. I'm not a wuss, especially not in the sick department. I'm sucking. I think if a fair number of people were sitting here right now, they'd be going, how the hell is he functioning right now? I'm actually a lot crustier around the edges than probably what I appear right now. They've bought into this, and then it hits them, or it hits someone close to them, or a friend, or it goes through their homes, and someone doesn't come back. Or they end up in the ICU fighting for their life, or they've got long COVID now, right? They're coming back and they're dragging an oxygen bottle around them, and they've got diabetes, and they're like, holy shit, it isn't this. And they're getting vaxxed. And there was an interesting story in USA Today. There's a growing number of people that are in the anti-vax, that are anti-vax in public, but they've gotten vaccinated. They don't want to say that they got vaccinated because their identity and their friendship circle would reject them if they said, hey, I got vaxxed and you should get vaxxed too. They're losing, and they know it. And that's why they're getting louder. And that's why you're just seeing like this scream on social media. And how do we know they're losing? Let's look at the state of Alabama. Something really interesting's happened in Alabama. Something really interesting's happened there. Alabama had the lowest vaccination rate in the United States. Notice I said past tense. Donald Trump, Alabama, 50,000 people. Cullman, Alabama, a sundown town, by the way. A lot of people feel that town was picked very, very specifically because of its racist roots to do that, but that's neither here nor there. He told 50,000 people, get the vaccine. I got the vaccine. I got it. I got it. I got it. You should get it too. And they booed him, right? Silence, boos. And I know your freedoms. Your free. I know your freedoms. I got it. Worked for me. You should probably get it too. Doesn't work. I'll let you know. Some more boos. You know what's happened since Trump said that? Vaccination rates in the state of Alabama have gone up. Vaccination rates in the state of Alabama went up a lot. They are now no longer the state with the lowest vaccination rate in the country. They are now in 49th place. They have pulled ahead of Mississippi. But wait, there's more. They're about ready to pass Wyoming, and they will probably pass Wyoming by next week. Wait, there's more. If the rate that they're having right now just continues to hold, by the time you get to the week after that, they are going to pass West Virginia, and they're going to pass Idaho. And they're going to start closing in on Georgia. It's pretty interesting that this is happening in Alabama after Trump got up on the stage and says, you should get the vax. Who booed him? 20% did. But there's other people that were in there that are like, all right, well, the orange one said I should get a vax. My neighbor just dropped dead from this stuff. My kid's school had to close. I can't go to my friggin' job because I got to watch my kid. I guess I'm going to be part of the solution and not part of the problem anymore. It's kind of interesting what's happened there. Right? It's, my sister is deaf in one ear from COVID. Attacked her. Yeah, exactly. There's so many things. There's total secret vaxxers. Oh, there's people, Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson is a total secret vaxxer. Come on. Total secret vaxxer. Tucker Carlson is like Eric Cartman. You know how like in South Park and Eric Cartman's like the tough guy? He's like, come on, let's do it. Let's go. And like, somebody just taps him and he's either knocked out or he starts crying. That's Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson's so vaxxed. I bet you Laura Ingraham. I bet you she's vaxxed. It's like, come on. Anyway, we've beat those points into the ground. I'm I want to talk a little bit about Idaho real quick and about Oregon. Oregon looks like maybe it's hitting a plateau. Or Oregon and Idaho are kind of in similar positions. Oregon is maybe in a little better shape than Idaho. Um, Oregon and Idaho have played about every card they have left in the deck. They're uh, Oregon might have like one more ace left. Idaho doesn't. There's no cards left for Idaho. Everything's on the table. All the chips are on the table. All the cards are on the table for Idaho. Oregon, there might be one more ace in that well. They maybe and you know they got a few chips left if there's a call. They got to pray for that ace. What Oregon has done is by canceling a bunch of elective surgeries, by pushing people that don't have COVID out of hospital beds that really should have still been in hospital beds, they were able to essentially create 500 hospital beds that were filled up with COVID patients as fast as they created them. New cases there are flattening out. And what the reason, part of the reason that they're flattening out is again, outside of the real rural counties or places like Josephine County, which just feels like they're ready to start the purge. I wrote about that last week, where it feels like the purge is just ready to start as soon as the friggin' sirens play there. Outside of a couple of these rural counties, they have their mask mandate indoor-outdoor. People are just naturally starting to pull back because, like, damn, it's really bad. And they feel like they're buying a little bit of time. The question is will that hold? And now, of course, that school has started. What happens? Start rolling through the schools. Idaho is in worse shape. They have a super low vaccination rate, one of the lowest in the country. We just talked about this. They have a lieutenant governor that is actively undermining the governor and is running against the governor, by the way. Their lieutenant governor is just out of her freaking mind, and evil and out of her mind. And she's not hidden evil. She's just openly evil. We know that hospitals asked to go to crisis standards of care. They were told no. And instead what they did is they deployed the National Guard. In the case of Kootenai Health up in the peninsula, they got a Department of Defense team of 20 people sent out there like under an emergency to just keep the Kootenai Health Hospital from collapsing. In Idaho, they've got hospitals now where people are in the ICU rooms, which are made for one. They've passed emergency rules so they can put two people in the room. And what doctors are saying is they'll have somebody in a code now, and they're doing CPR and et cetera, and they can literally touch the other patient in the other bed because they've got people doubled up, and they're doing things like sharing ventilators and all. The situation in Idaho is really bad. The medical community did a press release there today going, look, by some projections, if things don't change, we could be looking at 30,000 cases a day. They're at 1,600 cases a day. Washington hit 4,000 cases today. Opinion. 30,000 cases a day has got to be some outlier, worst case scenario forecast. Putting that number on paper, in my opinion, was hyperbole. That's my opinion. 10,000, forget 30,000, forget 10,000. If Idaho got to 5,000 cases a day, 5,000 new cases today, there's no frickin' way. There's no way. And if we are still in the situation that we are in, if Oregon is still in the situation that they are in, Idaho's got nowhere to send them. Because that's what Idaho's kind of been doing in these other surges, right? They've been sending them to Oregon. They've been sending them to Utah. They've been sending them to us in Washington. There's no room at the end, any of those states. So I'm our neighbors. I'm concerned, and we'll just see what happens. For Washington State, these next couple of weeks are going to be really, really critical. I know for a fact. Overlake Hospital is just up to their eyeballs. Harborview, it's publicized. They're running close to 500 patients. They're set up for 413. We know that Evergreen Hospital, last report was 44 COVID patients. That's the biggest number they've had since over the winter. It's not close to the numbers that they had in March and early April, where I think they hit 87. And I think between Kirkland and Monroe, I think they were up to about 96. Don't 100% hold me to that. That was like 18 months ago. But I think they were up around that number. So all of that is really, really concerning. Alaska Airlines is doing something. They're still kicking around on what they're going to do, and they're still debating whether to do a vaccine mandate. But something that they have instituted is any new hire that they hire now will have to be vaccinated. It's pretty interesting. There's a number of other companies that have instituted this as programs. Dick's Drive-In, if you're a fan of Dick's, Dick's got slapped with $35,000 in fines by LNI for 4 different violations, one of them including mask violations. If you remember, over the spring, there were a number of employees that came forward complaining about unsafe working condition at Dick's and not wearing masks, etc. It's disappointing because, Dick's is held up as an example, as a company that treats employees well and fairly, that pays a living wage, etc. So very, very disappointing to see that happening at Dick's. Local news, they're appealing. They say they'll appeal. We'll see what happens. Local news, hyper-local news for here in Kirkland. Google has pushed the opening out for their campus to 2022, January of 2022, and we'll see if they push it again. Microsoft, so far, planning to open their campus up in October, and they haven't moved the needle. So we'll see what happens there. Excuse me. Yeah, I know. It's pretty lame on Dick's. Go get a bag of Dick's is a totally different meeting in Seattle than anywhere else in the country. Or I got a bag of Dick's, or I got Dick's. It just has a totally different meaning in Seattle from the rest of the country. If you're part of our national audience or international audience, Dick's is a burger place. I would say that Dick's is an acquired taste. There's some people are like, oh my, they put it in the same pedestal as a Whataburger or a Five Guys or an In-N-Out. And I'm like, I'm confused. No, I'm not getting it. With that said, Dick's kept me well fed last year during protest coverage, particularly on the days would say things were going until like 1 a.m, because Dick's was about the only place that was open in Capitol Hill during that hour where you could get food. As people, if you don't remember on protest coverage or you weren't familiar with it, I know we're getting a lot of people coming in for the COVID coverage. If I could get over to a Dirty Dog or Rancho Bravo before they closed, that was generally try to go. But if it was real late night, it would be Dick's. And I go get a bag of Dick's. And I'm sure they're chuds that were like, he deserves that bag of Dick's. Yeah, I'm not a fan of their French fries in particular. Yes, Renee and I ran into each other multiple times in line at Dick's. There would actually, I think there were a couple, I don't know if I ever ran into Ian there. I know I ran into a couple of other streamers. There would be, and sometimes I would see people who are in the protest side of things. They would be there deblocked. So a couple of times, like on really big nights, it was a little weird. It kind of felt like Dick's, the official protest food of Seattle. Good shakes. I will say that their shakes are really good. The burgers are good. It's not, as I said, it's not these other places. It's good. It's better than McDonald's. Better than McDonald's? It's better than McDonald's. Better than McDonald's? Yes. But I'm not a fan of the fries. I'm not. Amazon still January. Yeah, we'll see. Amazon doesn't have any vaccine mandate, and they're saying you're going to hire 12,500 people here in the great city of Seattle, even though Seattle is dying. We're going to get 12,500 more tech bros here. In-N-Out is gross. That's going to be fighting words for some people. One of the things, here's a trick at In-N-Out that I've learned. If you go to In-N-Out, first of all, you can ask for fries well done. A lot of people don't realize that. If you go to In-N-Out, get the fries well done, they're so much better. Mouth's watering. But you can ask for extra well done. And if you get the fries there extra well done, if you've ever been in the New England states and you ever had matchstick potatoes, they're essentially like a French fry and a potato chip had a baby. It's a very New England thing I've discovered. If you've ever had those, they're just like that. They're super crunchy and they're just cooked all the way through. And they're like these matchstick potatoes, and they're amaze balls. So there you go. Everyone's talking about their favorite burgers. This is pretty interesting. Let's see. Have I talked about everything that here I want to cover? What's going on in the news cycle here? We talked about Candace. We talked about COVID. We talked about Texas. We talked about some of the local stuff that is going on around here. We talked about Oklahoma. I know you got a gunshot wound, but there's people shitting their brains out in the ER right now, so you need to wait, son. How many gunshot wounds in Oklahoma? I had so many questions on that story. I have so many questions. We got people waiting ambulances because of gunshot wounds. It smells like dicks in here. Yeah, Emily. Again, if you like the matchsticks, you can get them well done, and then they come out kind of closer to like McDonald's French fries. They don't season them at all at In-N-Out, so you're gonna have to drown them in salt. But if you like the super crispy like matchstick potatoes, just ask for them extra well done. They're amazing. I was shocked. I actually kind of ordered it by accident, and I was like, "Oh, this is amazing!" So I just knew that. The thing about In-N-Out is like you have to know like the secrets there, right? In-N-Out's like one of those, if you just order off the menu, then but if you know the secrets, then it's kind of interesting. One of the favorite things I like to order in In-N-Out, I get a grilled cheese with tomato, right? 2x0. I have a 2x0. No, I shouldn't have stopped streaming on. It may not have connected tonight. I see I'm on 3 out of 4. That could just very well be a Restream thing. Restream wasn't behaving well tonight, so I don't know. I think I've covered everything I want to talk about tonight. There was one more thing. That's why I'm kind of like, is it something? Is there one more? We're supposed to be up on Capitol Hill for Pride this weekend, sharing a booth with Seattle Gay News. I'm not feeling great. And I'm kind of feeling like a maybe for this. I'm not going to push myself. If I feel like I'm feeling right now, I'm a no. And I'm going to make a decision tomorrow. I'm not going to like wake up a decision on Saturday morning and leave people in a lurch. So I will make a decision tomorrow. But if I was deciding tonight, I'd be a no. I'm not going to push ourselves. We're not going to do a show on Monday. It's Labor Day. I don't know why we celebrate Labor Day in the United States anymore, because we hate unions as a country. Yet somehow we have this pretend holiday. And we moved it like to Labor Day because we don't want to do May Day, because we did May Day, then people might actually get more organized with all the other workers in the countries who celebrate May Day, which is why we have Labor Day and not May Day. I hate it here. God, I hate it here. All right, let's see if there's anything in, we'll do this. Let's see if there's anything in the headlines. Got to wake up the keyboard. Got to wake it up. Come on. There we go. No, I don't want that. What the heck? Killing me. Let's see here. Oh, yeah. There's a bunch of misconduct charges in the Ahmaud Arbery murder case. Prosecutor has been charged for shielding the people that murdered him. That's actually really big news. Death toll up to 46 in the greater New York City area, and all flooding from what's going on there. Here's another thing. Actually, there's one other thing. I want to talk about Afghanistan a little bit and some things that we're learning out of there. First of all, there's something is just hysterical to me. I saw this story on Fox News. It was one of the greatest self-owns that Fox News has done in a long time. Fox News is running this story about how the Taliban was very, very upset. Taliban was very, very upset because when they started exploring the airport in Kabul, basically what they concluded was, well, the United States trashed the airport and they broke everything. They took wasn't what nailed down, and what they couldn't take, they just broke, and they hopelessly broke it. We thought they were going to leave us all this stuff in working condition. let's remember Fox News has been beating the drum about how we left all this equipment for the Taliban, then self-owns themselves running a story about how the Taliban is complaining, how we trashed the airport on the way out and all the equipment that was there, including the helicopters that were there. So I want to bring that up. There has been, of course, there's some Trumplican trolls in Congress that are beating this drum. We left people around. We gotta impeach Biden. Blah 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 blah. Blah right? Because they're salty over Trump. That's all it is, right? And you got to know this is Trump in the back channel. You need to do something. We need to impeach him so that way I can say I wasn't the only one impeached. Right? Fine, whatever. This is what we know. There were about 200 people left behind. See, they left people behind. Most of those 200 people who were left behind are dual passport holders, dual citizen holders for Afghanistan and the United States. So what? Most of those 200 people wanted to be left behind. A lot of those 200 people that stayed behind have their families in Afghanistan and families that were not going to get visas, not that they weren't going to get visas to get out. And so they have made the decision to stay with their families. Like you complain about how people should stay in their country and make it better. Why would you leave? Don't you want to stay in your own country and make it better? So anyway, we know there's 200. There's this other story that's come out of California that's been run, with between 27 to 30 students that were in 2 California school systems from Afghani families who were left behind in Afghanistan. Well, some more information's come out on those stories, and the information we've learned is that in the case of the San Diego School District, there's only actually one, and we're not exactly sure if they wanted to get out or not. And for the ones up in the Sacramento area, as far as they could tell, most of them have already left the country. So just because they weren't on a U.S. military plane didn't mean that they actually didn't get out. There were other countries that were doing evacs. There were private organizations doing evacs. There were some people who literally walked across the border into Pakistan and other places, depending where they were at. I'm not going to sit here and victim blame, and I'm not sitting here and making excuses. The other thing that we are learning a little bit on is that the Taliban assisted the United States in actually moving a lot of people and getting them to the airport. Let's not forget that the Taliban signed the Doha Agreement that in part promised that they would do this stuff. And for the most part, this is part of the reason why we had to honor the Doha Agreement that Mike Pompeo signed, this shitty deal, because we got totally played in the deal, and they kind of held up their argument of the deal because Pompeo set the bar so friggin' low in what they had to do, which is basically don't kill us, help us find some of the bad guys, and provide some security on the way out. Well, guess what? The Taliban did all three, like it or not. You're defending? No, I'm not defending the Taliban. I'm working in a realm of facts. That's what I'm working in. The other thing that we're learning is that the CIA at a secret air base outside of Kabul evacuated hundreds of additional people that we weren't aware of. What a shock. We also know, because the Pentagon said this back in April, we're not completely, as far we may be saying the mission is over, there's nobody there. The Pentagon made it really clear. They're leaving a force, about 400 special forces in Afghanistan, deeply headed, embedded, and supported by the CIA. We're still there and they're meddling with their affairs. And the Taliban have a different problem. They have a different problem than ISIS-K, which I had talked about, I think, back on Monday. And the challenge they have with ISIS-K is the same challenge that the Shiites and the Sunnis had in Iraq, where, you had the Taliban, this Al-Qaeda group there, and then you had this splinter group break off that is just so over the top in the level of violence and terrorism that they want to do, that even the Taliban are like, dudes, y'all are too crazy even for us, okay? Like, no. And they're like, no, you're the infidels and we're going to destroy you. So The Taliban are going to have their hands full, ironically, dealing with the terrorism problem in their own country. Couldn't happen to a nicer group of leaders. Couldn't happen to a nicer group of leaders. That's for sure. And of course, they're discovering it's really hard to run a country right now, because they've set up a tax base. They kind of learned some of the things that the caliphate learned when they tried to set up their happy hoo-ha, and they've got that figured out. But they don't have the technology to run air traffic control or repair any of this stuff or run hospital. I mean, just on and on and on, or even just basic things like the electrical grid, water. They're totally overwhelmed. Like, holy shit, everybody knows how to do this left. So, there's stuff that happened in Afghanistan that was good and right as we were pulling out, as we were leaving behind a horrific mess that we made over 41 years, 42 years. Not denying any of our friggin' history here. Never denied it once. And there's some things that happen that we're probably not going to hear about for years and years and years. I just think it is completely horrific that the political right is weaponizing our military and denying this amazing achievement of our Air Force of transporting over 120,000 people out in the span of a little less than 2 weeks. This would have been like evacuating every man, woman, and child in Bellevue and flying them to the other side of the world in 2 weeks on no friggin' notice while people are shooting at you. And having to move every man, woman, and child that you got out from Bellevue, say to Boeing Field, while people are shooting at you. It's really friggin' remarkable what was accomplished there. And I don't know, I'm an Air Force brat, so I have that. And the good news, ABBA's getting better after 40 years, although I believe not all members of ABBA are alive anymore. But ABBA's getting together after 40 years and cutting an album. They're calling it The Quest for More Money. If you missed Jen Psaki, I love Jen Psaki. Oh, my God. If you missed Jen Psaki, she just put a male Fox News reporter in his place today over the whole Texas thing. Absolutely was beautiful that happened there. Another thing, which is kind of an economic news, General Motors is joining Toyota and Ford. General Motors is basically having to shut down almost all of their production for 2 weeks because they have no semiconductors, they have no microchips. They can't build vehicles. So they're basically having to shut down almost all production for 2 weeks. They're going to continue to build their bread and butter Silverado, Cadillac Blackwing, and the Corvette C8, and that's like it. That's what they got. That's all they can build. And in the case of the Silverado and the GMCs, they're actually not building new ones. They're essentially putting parts in ones that have already been built and are just sitting and waiting for parts. It's a friggin' mess. The Amazon Labor Day sale has arrived. Here's what to shop. Here's my advice to you in the Amazon Labor Day sale. Amazon is actively selling and doing nothing to police on Amazon.com quack COVID cures and supporting searches, things like for ivermectin for humans. So you should let Amazon know with your wallet that you're not happy that they're doing shit like that. Just putting it out there. We had that in our story. They're not the only one. We called out Google. We called out MSN. And I'm calling out Amazon. Clown County, Jefferson County. They're going to have the strictest mandate in the entire state of Washington coming up on Labor Day. And what that's going to be, in order to get to a bar or restaurant, that includes Port Angeles, Sequim, Port Townsend. To get into a restaurant or bar, you're going to have proof of vaccination. You're going to have to prove you are vaccinated in those counties to go into a restaurant or bar. And King County added their outdoor mask for large events. So think like a Mariners game, Seahawks game, just two examples. You're going to have to wear a mask for that. I think that's it. I think I've kind of got, we talked about Alaska Airlines. We covered all this stuff here. I think we really have covered everything. Oh, interesting. Bellevue-based Peter Pan Seafood is going to require vax for all employees. And Nick Rolovich, I saw this is getting sued, but I don't know what this is all about. Oh, it's a civil rights lawsuit. I'm going to have to read more about it. Nick Rolovich is this, he's a coog. He's like, I'm not getting vaccinated. Then he's like, okay, maybe I am. And then he's like, I don't know, maybe I'm not. I don't know what I'm doing. Anyway, kind of acting like a chud. Kind of looks like a chud. Is there anything else? I think we've kind of covered everything. I know we don't have a question of the day. If you're doing there is supposed to be there's one more thing I want to talk about, but it's not about the ferries. Thank you though for calling out the ferries. Yeah, if you're planning to take ferry over the Labor Day weekend, there's supposed to be like a work slowdown. People are supposed to be walking off the job because they're upset that they have to get a vaccination. So they're just telling people be prepared for delays and slowdowns for that. Excuse me. Dora, I'll have to dig into it a little bit more because I can't talk about intelligently. Last thing I want to talk about, which I think is good news, I want to talk about Peace Health. Peace Health is a medical network, a hospital network. They're located in the southwestern part of Washington State. They run hospitals and urgent care, doctors' offices, etc. You can think of them as, a Virginia Mason, right? Same idea. Providence. It's the whole same idea. Peace Health has the distinction of being one of the first medical systems networks in the country to go, you must be vaccinated. They also had one of the earliest deadlines, which was you must be vaccinated by August 31. And so August 31 is come and gone. And they stuck to their guns on this. And we now know through Peace Health how many people are going, you're not the boss of me. You can't make me do it. You're not going to do it. I'm going to quit. We've got the answer. And so how many people left Peace Health? We don't fully have the answer because I'll get into that in a minute. But right now, it's 9%. Now, when I say it's not 9%, that doesn't mean 9% of nurses or 9% of doctors or 9% of respiratory therapists or x-ray technicians, or that's 9% of all of the employees. So this is from phlebotomists to brain surgeons to, administrator, paper pushers to the receptionists at the front desk. 9%. That's it. Which goes back to my earlier conversation about they're losing and they know it. Because let's not forget, Southwest Washington isn't exactly a bastion of liberal thought and embracing ideas like I'm going to get a vaccine because Fauci said I really should to save my fellow man. Let's not forget that places like Hazel Dell are basically like the West Coast headquarters for the Proud Boys. Let's not forget that when shit goes down in Portland, a lot of the fash that show up in Portland are driving over the border from Southwest Washington, right? This is Peace Health is Longview, Vancouver, Centralia. These are not exactly bastions of liberal thought here, and they had 9%. Walk out the door. Now, wait a minute. I said, but we don't know what the number is. But you did. You said it's 9%. So what is it? The people who have walked out right now are on unpaid leave. They are not terminated yet. They're using at this time their PTO and their sick time as they consider their life decisions. Now, it's going to be safe to conclude that among this 9% that's walked out the door, there is going to be a few more people that are going to cross the line. Now, can we apply what's happened in Vancouver to Talladega, Alabama? Nah, I'm not saying that. they're going to have a higher percentage because they've got other challenges in a place like that. Alabama doesn't have a mandate in place. I'm just using that as an example. But, you know, they had this protest last week where they were going, we're the majority. You're not the majority. You're not even close. Does losing 9% of the staff in the middle of pandemic absolutely? Of course it does. They can't afford to lose one person. But the reality is, particularly if we pointed at a company like Peace Health and we look at what's going on in Longview, Washington at their St. John's facility, where that hospital was on the brink of collapse a couple of weeks ago because there were so many staffers who were sick with COVID. The analogy I can use is this. If you're a combat soldier and you're like, I don't wear my helmet, it's uncomfortable. I don't like wearing a helmet. It's hard for me to hear. Gives me a headache. I don't like wearing it. Your sergeant's going to tell you, if you're in a combat zone, to put your freaking helmet on. Because here's the reality. Well, a helmet won't stop a bullet. That's actually true. You know, a helmet, you know, good sniper rounds, it's going to go right through their friggin' helmet. That's not the job of the helmet. The helmet's job is that if something blows up nearby and there's shrapnel and stuff, that doesn't go through your head and take you out. That's what the purpose of the helmet is for. That's why you wear a helmet, even if you don't want to wear a helmet. And people that consistently in a combat zone refuse to wear a helmet, if there's a lot of hot metal flying around, they're going to be in fuck around and find out mode. And their buddies, if they fuck around and find out, yeah, they're going to be hurt, but, you know, they're not going to be, you know, they're going to kind of be like they fucked around and find out. And there's going to people who are going to go, you see that? You see their brains all splattered on the ground? That's what fucking happens to you when you don't wear a helmet. Let that burn in your friggin' brain and get it out of your head that you're not going to wear a helmet. It's the same thing with the vaccination. You're going in a combat zone going, my body armor, it's heavy and it makes me sweat. Who would say this? You suck on, I just, this is the thing I don't get, you know. I rolled around last year 55 pounds of gear. No exposed skin, head to toe. Not because I was trying to block up, because pepper spray and tear gas on exposed skin sucks ass. And if you are wearing the right material and adequate layers, this provides you a lot of protection from pepper spray and tear gas and the burning sensation on your skin so you can continue to function and do things. And the downside of that is there were times last year where it was 90 plus degrees and I am dressed in head to toe clothing, you know, with my pants into my socks and gloves, and my head is covered and eye protection and a helmet and class 4 body armor and all of my camera equipment and my riot bag on my back and running for my life at times. But this is what I did, because if I didn't wear this stuff, what could have the consequences been? Well, the consequences could have been very serious injury. The consequences could have been I wouldn't be able to do what I was attempting to do because now my skin is on fire and I am out of the game and now I am useless. I am mission ineffective. Or they would call in the military combat and mission. We would say mission ineffective when I was search and rescue team, or you're in a combat unit, combat ineffective. So if you're a medical professional who's refusing to get vaxxed and you get sick, you are mission ineffective. If you get sick and you fill up a bed, it's just like the military situation where the sniper is going, I don't want to kill. I don't want the kill shot. I want to wound them bad. Because if I wound them, I just don't take them out. I'm going to take 2 other people out, because those 2 people now are going to have to drag them out and carry them. And now I've wounded, I've hurt their morale, and I've taken 3 chess pieces off the board, not 1. If you're a medical professional, you are unvaccinated, you get sick, you put your ass in bed, it's like helping the friggin' enemy. because you just took multiple pieces off the chessboard. And what do you think your coworkers are going to do? It's this whole psychological thing. Of course they're going to focus more on you because they're the friggin' coworkers and they care about you. So it's psychologically harmful for the people that care for you. You're a human piece of shit. There, I said it. Go get your fucking shot or quit. Or go move to Nebraska. Nebraska is actively recruiting people to go work there with prisoners and veterans, and actively recruiting unvaccinated people to work in medical conditions for prisoners and veterans on behalf of a grateful nation. Like Nebraska. All right. Oh, they were totally out for blood. Yeah, I could bring it all up again. We're coming up on the anniversary for Spog 2, right? 816's come and gone. Yeah, we saw that in Elijah McClain. And we talked about Dante Wright, Dan, a little bit earlier, and Elijah McClain. We talked about Dante Wright earlier and Elijah McClain. I know we wrote about it. Let's see. I think that's it. I think I've spoken my piece, unless anybody's got anything in the comments. Farmer Barb, how are you? Oh, yes. Insurrection 2, Electric Boogaloo, coming on the 18th. Wonder if Madison Cawthorn's going to be there. Ursa, I got mixed feelings about Black Coffee Ballard. I have mixed feelings. I mean, I'm excited they're moving. I'm excited they're moving to Ballard. Shoreline won. I feel Shoreline chased them out. So that the racist chuds in Shoreline won. That's my view on it. Oh, Farmer Barb, I'm so bad on Discord, but I'll go look tonight, I promise. Roger, I might have missed that. I'm a little bit behind. I've had a lot of stuff coming in, so I'll have to look into that. Yeah, we'll watch about Insurrection 2, Electric Boogaloo coming up. Lots of exciting things to tell me. Ooh, I like exciting things. Shoreline seems like really, really fashy, right? I mean, they had this woman that stuff's been going on with that crazy woman in Shoreline who ended up trying to like run over the people and stuff. I saw that about Caesar Palace canceling the Quanon thing. It's like we don't want to be associated with you guys. It always blows my mind. It's like, what's Quanon? What? Where the hell have you been? What's Quanon? Like whenever someone says that, my first reaction is what? And then I'm like, that's right. I have to remember. I'm in the United States of America. That's right. I have to remember this. People know about Lord's latest interview and the latest hot song that they've learned about on TikTok. They know this, but they don't know who Quanon is. It's just really hard for me to wrap my brain. And I don't mean like when politicians say it, I'm like, you're so full of shit. Like in the federal, it's like, you're so full of shit. Come on. But some booking manager at Caesar's Palace. What's Quanon? What? I thought it was like the Queen. Q was a Queen. They're not fans of Queen. Oh, they did the insurrection. Oh, no. We don't want their money. I used to live in Edmonds, and I know that they have that the feline cancer thing on Shoreline. I know that place has been there forever. Catherine, I don't know. I don't know when all they eat. I don't know if they eat each other alive. I mean, in the COVID anti-vax disinformation, I feel we're winning, but I feel like in the overall war around disinformation in general, we're losing so badly. I wrote about this. I feel like we're kind of in a World War III right now in this disinformation warfare where people are using the internet and we just don't even understand what's going on. It's not willful ignorance. It's just it's we've created this monster and we just don't fully understand. Like if you think about things like, say like when the Gatling gun was invented towards the end of the Civil War, we look at things like trench warfare, right? And we look at kind of military tag and the weapons we were using at that time, and people are just like, "Oh my God!" Right? They didn't understand shit, and then they just reached this point after it reached this horrible level where they're like, "Okay. The chemical weapons was a really bad idea. We're not going to do the chemical weapons thing anymore." Okay. And we had World War II, blah blah blah, and certainly not in a battlefield environment. People did not use chemical weapons in any scale. Yeah, Nazi atrocities, Japanese atrocity. I get it. There's some kind of did the Russians maybe not in small scale. I get it, but they're nothing like we saw in World War I, because fundamentally we started changing military tactics because, standing in line shooting at each other when you have a couple of people with Gatling guns or machine guns is a really stupid idea, because the person with the machine gun just mows everybody down. So we've got to change things. I think that's kind of where we're at with the internet, right? We had this big, bright promise of the internet. Everyone's going to have their own Gutenberg press. People who have ideas, they want to share and grow, and they'll be able to do that now. And we so underestimated the negative consequences of this, and we have so underestimated the monsters that we have created. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. If you haven't seen my latest TikTok, go check out our latest TikTok, because you're going to be friggin' horrified on what happened on TikTok. If you haven't, I don't want to talk about it. So go check it out. Yeah, Pam, I know, but losing individual battles is different than losing the war. And I talked about this earlier about there's a lot of cracks right now in the anti-vax community, and the number of people who say they're not going to get vaxxed, and secret vaxxers. And as I was just talking about what was going on in Peace Health, where only 9% of all of the staff walked out, only 9%, which gives us a pretty good indication of what we're going to see in Washington and Oregon as these vaccine mandates move into place. And yes, Eastern Washington, we will see higher numbers, and King County, we will probably see lower numbers. So, yeah, go check out our TikTok. You won't believe what happens next. I don't want to talk about what happened, because seriously, I'm just going to get red-faced and angry, and I'll talk about it for 30 minutes. It's not good. You just go watch it. Kid deleted mine. I keep thinking I should delete it, but there's I'm deeply embedded in nurse talk and, interestingly, anesthesiologist talk. I'm not aware of my wife installing TikTok, but for some reason I'm in anesthesiologist talk, and heavily with nurse talk. And there's some creators there that I'm working with and talking with. And actually some of the stuff in the COVID update is stuff that they're sharing with me, that they're shining on a flashlight, and we're putting it in the COVID update because we're getting that information. Yeah, but TikTok's hella toxic. And I have real questions about the motivation of ByteDance and the app, and what they're platforming and what they're not platforming there. All right, that's it. I need to start winding down. I'm thirsty as fuck. And I want some meat, and I need some water, and I need Chloraseptic. My throat. You have no idea how I just soldiered through this. So, look, I appreciate everybody. I appreciate all your support and your love and all that. I really, really do. We're all in this together. Everybody stay safe. Everybody stay healthy. And by the way, Boston Red, man, that hat's all dirty. Boston Red Sox. Yeah, I'm a Red Sox fan. Dumbasses. They have one of the lowest vaccination rates of any team in the MLB. When they hit the All-Star break, they were like the swinging dicks of the MLB on the AL side. I think they were the number 2 team in all of the AL. 6-14 ball. They were on the way to a 100-win season. If you go take a look at the Red Sox, they're just collapsed. They're just in collapse because like half the freaking team has COVID, and they're like practically having to pull people out of the stands to be player for the day. It's all totally self-inflicted, and they have one of the lowest COVID vaccination rates. So, friggin' do better, Boston. Keep people in Louisiana, New York, New Jersey, and Eastern PA in not the thoughts and prayers thing, but just it's bad. It's really, Ida was gnarly. Ida's gonna go down for a long time. Ida will be a name that they'll retire, and that's it. Just a historical one. So, Renee, I'll hit you up tomorrow on whether I'm backing out over Pride on the weekend. As I said, if I was making the decision right now, I'm out. I'm still struggling. All right, everybody, no show Monday. Enjoy Labor Day. Socially distance with a mask on. Malcontent out. In a minute. Malcontent News is a team of journalists, activists, and researchers with 3 key missions. A commitment to show an unfiltered view of the before, during, and after of key events live as it happens. To defend the First Amendment using our rights of a free press. And to amplify the voices of underrepresented individuals including Black, Indigenous, persons of color, and the LGBTQIA+ community. Our team is committed to seeking equality for all and holding those in power accountable. The easiest way to support Malcontent News is to bookmark our website at malcontentnews.com, like and follow us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, and follow us on Twitter, TikTok, Twitch, Instagram, and in the Google News app. To provide financial support, you can become a patron, make a one-time donation through Venmo, or link your Twitch account to your Amazon Prime account and use your free subscription to subscribe to Malcontent News. Thank you for supporting independent journalism and for being a malcontent.
You fit the profile. You're the malcontent.
Nobody wants to hear the nonsensical ravings of a loudmouth malcontent.
He said malcontents Antifa. Fuck you.
You are the biggest hypocrite on the face of the planet.
I say that you're a terrible reporter.